Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, we're live for the Beacon TVL show. Welcome, everybody. 1 second while I get everything set up. There's a lot to talk about today. Just want to give a shout out to Robert Arthur Williams. Hope you're feeling better, sir. He's going to be our panel guest for today. We'll have him on a future one very soon. So, wishing you well, sir. Let me just get us live here, and we are good to go. One thing, too. We are actually now live on... well, we are not live on Rumble. I was trying to get things set up on Rumble, but that did not work out. So, in any case, we'll work on getting Rumble up and running for next week. Well, I guess we'll see if we're on Rumble. We are not live on Rumble. Oh, well. But yeah, a lot of things to talk about this week. Let me grab the agenda here. We'll start actually, speaking of Rumble, we'll start off with, actually, let's start off with the market first, because there's a lot to look at with the market. Got some new transitions here. Hopefully you find them interesting. Let me find the correct one. There we go. So looking at the market, we have received a little bit of an interesting pull back up and then back down. But what's interesting here is if you look at the charts here, they're looking a little less correlated these days. So ETH-BTC ratio is at an all-time low. But I do think after what happens today, there is a Fed meeting. And we'll see specifically what happens moving forward. But overall, let's look to see where we're at with crypto bubbles. For the week, we're looking at quite a few. It looks like Helium actually is taking a bit of a tumble. FTM up, Popcat up, TIA up, SUI up. No shocks there, based off of some news and just some movement over in each way. SUI in particular is going to get CCTP from Circle with native USDC coming to SUI. So on the day today, though, it looks like there's a little bit of definitely some uncertainty about what's going to happen. But one thing I did want to point out, of course, is to join us at our free group from Beacon DeFi here at Total Value Locked. I want to say, of course, hello to all of our Beacon Mastermind members, our founding members, as well as our regular members, and of course, our Beacon Accelerator members. Thanks for helping help us do what we do, and hopefully you are enjoying the show so far. Join us here at school.com/beacon, absolutely free, to learn about DeFi from the best in the business, especially if you checked out what we're about to talk about now, which is the World Liberty Financial stream on Monday, and you heard a lot about DeFi, decentralized finance, and you're curious to know more. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people whose eyes are going to be on World Liberty Finance, because you cannot underestimate the power of the Trump name. But if you want to learn how, or if you know someone who's interested and they want to learn how, join the group. Help us get to 1,000 members. We are well on our way there, and got a lot of good stuff going on there. Also, if you are a part of our Accelerator or Mastermind, we do have a great boot camp coming up on Saturday on perp dexes and portfolio structures. If you're interested in signing up, join Total Value Locked, school.com/beacon, and click on the link. Sign up. Still plenty of seats available. Speaking of World Liberty Financial, again, this was something that happened Monday evening. It's the DeFi project from the Trump family that held a Twitter space. And it went for roughly almost 2 hours, I want to say. Former President Trump did speak during the first 45 minutes. As expected, he's not the most well-versed on DeFi, which is to be expected, which is why he's brought in a really interesting team. They've brought in some new advisors, one being Sandy Peng from ZK Sync. And then we have, this gentleman, I don't know who that is. Oh, sorry, Luke Pearson from Polychain Capital. And they also have the co-founder of Dolomite on as well. And yeah, this should be a very interesting project. There were more than 150,000 people were on the call. I did join a little bit later after President Trump had left. Barron Trump, who is the appointed DeFi visionary, did not speak on the stream from what I know of. But the two that did, Donald Trump Jr. for the majority, and then Eric Trump later on, I do have some thoughts on this. So I did want to share them with you. If you have a chance to check out the recording, I would recommend that you do. I'm going to work on getting a transcript up for our communities, for anybody who missed it and wanted some talking points. We do know a little bit more about what's going on specifically with the tokenomics. Have this little Benzinga article here. I mean, I can just tell you just from being on the call, it's tokenomics is, they're going to have a token. It's going to be called, I believe, WLFI. It's going to be a non-transferable governance token. And they waited until the very end to talk about this token because people kind of left in droves after they heard the news. It's not terrible tokenomics, but 63% of public sale, 17% to emissions and rewards, and 20% for team. That normally means dev, friends, and family, VCs, advisors. No talk about cliffs or vesting, and I don't expect them to talk about them now. I'm sure they'll come out later on. The part that probably got a lot of people not very happy with this project is that to probably play nice with regulations and whatnot, because it is very challenging for a lot of U.S. companies, which I'm assuming this will be a U.S. entity. You have to be either a Reg D or Reg S investor to participate. There will be a full KYC and allow list / whitelist protocol coming for the protocol. They did mention that, but nothing new in terms of how soon that's going to be. What that means is that you have to be an accredited investor to join in. So that's basically you make at least $200,000 to $300,000 a year, or you have $1 million in liquid assets. Whether you're non-US, US, check with your specific jurisdiction to find out what that is if you're very interested. And again, this is a non-transferable governance token with full KYC. So take that for what you will. A lot of people were a bit upset. And that's fine. You don't have to participate in the WLFI token sale. But what they will be is a lending market at the beginning. There was talk about having NFTs and having other parts to this new project. I will say that I actually was very surprised at what I heard from Don Jr. He's actually fairly based. He speaks a lot of the same vibes that we talk about here at Beacon, specifically when it comes to how we feel about Web3. He talked about championing self-custody, about how he feels that this is going to be the future of not only about finance, but I don't think he said business, but roughly with finance as well. He talked about, the ability to not be deplatformed, anti-fragile, censorship resistant stuff we talk about all the time, right? So he also talked about how the banking system is rigged against you. Kind of on the nose when only accredited investors can get the WLFI token, right? So there is that. But no, I came away from this talk fairly impressed with how Donald Jr. Knows his stuff. He's been sitting with the team, with the advisors, understanding how this works. To my knowledge, it looks like they're going to launch this on ETH mainnet. I don't know if they're going to possibly move that to some other chains, but overall, Eric Trump came on, and I thought he actually came up with something that was I found very interesting. Mainly because he kind of hit on some topics that I think are actually quite important. And the first thing he talked about was specifically with usability. That was something that he found to be very difficult because he's in hospitality, he's a tech guy, as he says. But he said he had a really big issue. His example was he had to go to Aave and loop Ethereum. I don't know if I would have started with that, to be quite honest. I think the idea of being able to, deposit digital assets, earn a yield on those just for supplying them, that's an auto-compounding position, and then finding out what type of collateral you'd want to borrow off of that, I think that's a very compelling argument, and probably he should have started with that instead of whoever advised him to go to Aave and loop Ethereum with MetaMask. First of all, use Rabby. It's a much better version. That's why we talk about Rabby in our mastermind and in our free communities, because it's just a better quality of life improvement over MetaMask. Nothing against MetaMask, of course. So the OG, I started on MetaMask, a ton of people did, or anything else, but to me, you can't beat Rabby at this point. Other than the fact that they're not completely full chain. Could that change soon? Who knows? But we'll see. I could put a comment in here about Coinbase Smart Wallet and get a whole ton of bots to come in here and talk to me, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, maybe I just did. So, no idea when the launch is. Polymarket, I forgot to bring up the Polymarket, but I think Polymarket has it at roughly 43% that they launched the token before the election. Put in the comments, do you think it's worth them launching this project before the US election? I'm a little split, honestly. I don't think it's going to make a huge dent. Most people won't understand it. But I will say, if you know anybody that saw that and is very curious about that, please send them our way. School.com/beacon. Would love to be able to help them out. Like I mentioned, we are also now on Rumble. We do actually need some subscribers in order to claim the Beacon DeFi channel name. So if you use Rumble, and I'll put the link here in the chat, would greatly appreciate a follow, a subscribe to help us get that so we can start streaming there, because I think that's probably the other issue why we could not stream there today. Although we're here on YouTube, we're here on Twitch, we're here on Twitter, or X, pardon me, X. So that's World Liberty Financial. Nothing outside of that, and the Telegram. I mean, the Telegram is just kind of full of chatter. So, obviously follow the Twitter to find out more. Should be something coming in the next couple of weeks. We will see. But there's definitely some buzz, and they left with some buzz. That's for sure. So yeah, we'll move on. So this week is Token 2049. This week is also Solana Breakpoint. And for some reason, and we'll talk about some more things that happened that's happening at Token 2049. The news, and Karen, yeah, we're live right now. We are live. The news about this guy, he won the Best Crypto KOL Award. No idea what that means. KOL, if you're not familiar with, is Key Opinion Leader. Yeah, I think that's what that stands for. Well, apparently this guy has 3 million subscribers. I'm not going to really talk about him too much because I'm going to look like a hater, right? Respect the man on the grind. Good for him. I'm just going to look like a hater. In any case, he actually got, I guess he got caught in 4K by Zach XPD. There's the award. He's having his best. I've seen him partying in Singapore right now. Man's living his best life. Good for him. Apparently he's botted his way to get all of the way there. So I don't know. I'm an actual professor, even though I use the word professor in my name. And now I sound like a hater. In any case, clearly I'm using my professorship in the wrong way because I clearly don't have the number that this man has. But if you don't want to talk about meme coins and understanding how stuff like that doesn't necessarily work, we'll teach you the right way to do it. Send them our way. Thanks, Professor Krypto. We'll go ahead and move on. Anyway, move on to the another announcement from last week. We talked last week, WBTC, obviously in a very interesting situation. Now they are partnered with WBTC. This happened literally the morning of last Wednesday. We came on right before the show. It's now an omni-fungible token, meaning that you can easily bridge WBTC to any blockchain where layer 0 goes to, which is huge, unbelievably huge for them. Because they are the market leader by far. They hold at least 95% of the market share of all the Bitcoin that's in DeFi from an ERC20 perspective. So this is actually really important, but also controversial. We're within 25 days now, 20 days, I think, of them transferring ownership from BitGo, which was a US entity, now to a multi-jurisdictional entity between BitGo and BitGlobal into a 3-group arrangement. Now, the important part here is that this doesn't change the way WBTC works. The security model is still the same, the redemption is still the same, the minting is still the same. But because of what's happening in the background, that's been the most controversial part about it, right? Because Justin Sun is a strategic partner in this, and that actually set off alarm bells everywhere to the point that Maker has removed WBTC as collateral on both Maker and Sky, which led some other people to start to FUD that. Literally the day of that evening, Coinbase literally just tweeted the words cbBTC, which of course sent everyone into a frenzy. So last Thursday, cbBTC, now a thing. This is Coinbase BTC. How does this work for you as a Coinbase customer? Well, if you have some BTC and you want to go ahead and start using it, all you have to do is withdraw it to Base blockchain. You can do so for free. And in doing so, it automatically converts it to cbBTC. You can look for WBTC on Base. You're not going to find it anymore. So everything there is cbBTC. Now, I believe you can still convert BTC into wrapped Bitcoin or WBTC and withdraw it to Avalanche, to Arbitrum, to ETH mainnet, and Optimism. I believe that's still that is still something you can do, and that would be the other way to do it. But if you want to definitely use the Coinbase version, the wrapped derivative that is, then you can do so. I have a Dune dashboard that I need to put up here that has shown that more than, I want to say 100 million has already, let me put this up, has already been shown or has already been minted, which honestly in less than a week is a pretty large number. Yeah, 118 million already for the total MC of cbBTC. Almost 2,000 BTC supply across chains, and we're seeing a tremendous amount of a movement of cbBTC. Now, obviously, Base is the easiest part to get to, but then Ethereum you can also send it to, back and forth. And we're seeing Aerodrome, multiple dexes that were available at launch to be supporting cbBTC. So if I come down here, yeah, Aerodrome, Curve, Oku, Aave, they're actually in talks on Aave to bring it on board as collateral. That's still, I don't know if that still actually happened. Morpho definitely has it for sure. So does Compound and Moonwell, which is another lending platform, as well as Spark, which is interesting because that is a offshoot of the Sky ecosystem. But yeah, as you can see, there is quite a bit of support for it already. We have been tracking this in our Thursday call last week, our flagship market making liquidity call in the mastermind. We actually looked at quite a few pools on Aerodrome and on Beefy, one of our partners, to really just kind of see how this is moving. We were looking at it before as 1 million in TVL. Now it's like well over 50, I think, something like it's a large amount on Base that you can go through. And the rates aren't terribly, they're not bad. There's a choice between cbBTC and wrapped ETH and cbBTC and USDC. The more controllable one will be the BTC ETH pair because they are fairly correlated, right? It's much more correlated than cbBTC and USDC, obviously, but you might have a better time playing the range on that personally than you would on cbBTC, USDC. But you'll be paid more in fees because it's more volatile. So yeah, that is cbBTC. Controversies, of course, came out immediately. Justin Sun, the strategic partner I was talking about, literally calls it central bank BTC. And now, of course, he's going to FUD this into the ground. Why? Because he represents WBTC. Some of the things he's brought up, though, are very, very worthy of talking about. For example, the fact that Coinbase can freeze and blacklist addresses. Well, guess what? So can USDC and USDT. Maybe not the best example in the world, but it's something to consider, that there are multiple centralized coins that have this function in the contract. With that said, WBTC does not have this in the contract. So if you're looking for a reason to either stay with WBTC or try one of these other wrapped versions like cbBTC, Threshold BTC, what else is out there? Lombard, Babylon, anything you can think of. There's at least a dozen now that have come out of the woodwork ever since this announcement came. for the new venture between BitGo and BitGlobal. So yeah, this is obviously something to consider when you're looking at that. Of course, none of this is financial advice. You do you. This is all for your own personal entertainment and education. I do think that at least in this arena, at least at this point in time, having centralized options is not a bad thing to help create innovation and competition, right? This move from Coinbase, because there was a real gap after WBTC. So let's say that something happened to WBTC, you didn't really have very good options to onboard BTC into DeFi. And really, that's the one thing we've been looking for the last 4 to 5 years, because honestly, onboarding BTC into DeFi, real pain in the ass. Let's be honest. Much easier now, much less friction, and you can redeem it 1-for-1 with cbBTC and BTC, and move that way. I'm kind of 50-50 on whether or not I'd actually really use it a lot. Of course, you know, betting on Coinbase is a good thing because of the good fight that they're fighting against the SEC. They're the major, you know, custodian of all of the ETFs that are out there that are dealing with crypto. They have a really good groundswell support with Crypto 435. If you're into crypto advocacy, check all that stuff out. Obviously, do your research, figure out which way works for you. But at least now I can confidently say you have a lot of good options on how to invest with Bitcoin now in DeFi, at least on the EVM side. Once we see this move to Solana, which I do think is going to happen, we'll see how soon. Then I think we're going to start to see a lot of movement there. So obviously Justin Sun has skin in the game, which is why he is, of course, flooding this to high heaven. And I'm not shocked at all that he's doing this. But of course, he has his own reputation. So a lot of people will kind of think how they feel in other ways. So let me know how you feel about it in the comments. Would love to know. And again, if you're in the comments, please like the stream, help us out in the algorithm. Of course, subscribe if you have not already, and set the notification bell. Let me see, anything there? Okay, so looking back on this Dune dashboard, definitely check this out if you're looking to follow this. I'll put this here. It'll be in the show notes, but it'll also be here in the comments. And this is what I love about DeFi, is that anyone can come and create tools like this to track things. And this was done, I think, literally the day after it was launched. So to see 118 million already coming out in market cap within, you know, a few days, strong sign. Where does this go from here? I guess we'll see. There's definitely yield possibilities. Go check out Pendle. There's definitely some yield possibilities. I think we're looking at Bitcoin Fi or BTC Fi in a new light with a lot of what's happened here. So yeah, I was going to talk about Fractal as well, because they're a side chain on Bitcoin that's actually doing a lot of numbers. Like I said, I'm still not sold on a lot of the BTC Fi from that end. I do think now that all of this is here, we're going to see more Bitcoin Fi from this side start to take more of the conversation. Why? Because at least in our arena, we care more about finding good ways to have yield. We're just not hodling and speculating on various assets. If that's something you want to do, that's all up to you, of course. But I'm going to go where the yield goes, because that's how my bags like to work. I like my money working for me. Absolutely. Okay, so other big news. Didn't want to bury the lead. Today is going to be a pretty interesting day with Fed rate cuts, right? A lot of people, and I really should just pull up the Polymarket. Isn't it interesting that we're like in a time and place where Polymarket has become where Polymarket has become like the indicator, like it's turned into the Kleenex, you know, of the world. Like, what is this life we're living? So, oh, the coin before the election is 27%. It was down. It was like in the 50s. Now it's done. Fed rate cut by, well, there's definitely gonna be one today. And a lot of people are saying 50, although it looks like 75 is also an option here. I want to say that the Fed rates, there we go. If you've never been to Polymarket, it's what we call a prediction market. It's no different than sports betting, something that's been around in DeFi forever. It's just the accessibility of Polymarket, which is based on Polygon, by the way. Now they're on Ethereum, and they've really gotten a ton of their volume like in the last couple months, thanks to some really good partnerships with MoonPay and some of these others. It's to the point that there are Congress people on the Hill that are going to be pushing for regulation on prediction markets on US elections. Wow. So yeah, I mean, and again, do you win money off of this? I believe you do. So a lot of people are, let's see, 56.4 million are talking. Oh, it's a pretty split. If we look at this, 50% chance for the 50 bips decrease, 48, no change. Oh, no, there's definitely going to be a change today. He definitely has signaled that. A lot of people have talked about the fact that, Chairman Powell has left the Fed a bit behind the curve, right? I think they've done an okay job. It's not a terrible job. Could we have seen more? Sure. But at the same time, we have to make sure all of the markets, all of the job markets and all of these things that are out there that help, keep the economy together don't implode with interesting, quick moves. And the fact that, Senator Warren has, wrote a letter yesterday, along with, I think it's Senators Whitehouse and Hickenlooper, to cut by 75 basis points would be a pretty strong move. I don't personally see that happening. I could see that happening before the end of the year. So, 25 bips today, 50 in November or December. I could definitely see that happening. I mean, let's be real. I mean, her pockets are lined by the banking lobbies, are they not? And could we see a ton of refis and refinances coming through if she calls for a 75 bip, hit? Sure. Take for it what you will. A lot of this is just politics. I personally think I think we see a 25 bip hit and a 25 basis point reduction, a cut, because there hasn't been a cut since 2020. And then we see a 50 basis point cut after that, because, inflation is in a better spot than where it was obviously in the last couple of years. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about in terms of what are basis points, 25 basis points is the same as saying 0.25%, 50 is 0.50%. One thing I did want to point out, and this is something that, hit the flash crash, about a month ago, right? The Bank of Japan has not signaled that they're not going to raise rates again. They said that they probably won't, but that's not a non-zero chance. Could something like this affect the timing? I think it definitely could. If you have any thoughts on that, please feel free to put in the comments. So to me, this is the signal. This is the one that I'm the most curious about, because they do have they have a new prime minister election coming up this year. So specifically with what's going to be happening here, looks like September 27th is, so that's actually next week. That could be in tune with timings if they actually, put up a rate hike from the, what used to be 0 on the yen carry trade. So, yeah, it's interesting how it all just kind of blends together. This is very important timing. So that's a really interesting thing that I'll be watching. If you're curious about how monetary plumbing with quantitative easing, quantitative tightening, how all that works, I would invite you to follow Macro Alf. I saw him on a recent interview on Bankless, and what I liked about this was specifically this summary chart, which I would definitely recommend. It's in the show notes if you want the link for this, but to get an idea of what the potential macro effects are of this type of stuff, definitely check this out. I think it's definitely worth your time. And yeah, that's all I'll really talk about on that. So the other thing that's going on this week is, everybody is descending on Singapore, the city state country of Singapore. Great place. I'm honest. I obviously have FOMO because I'm not there. We do have CJ there. We have a couple of members who live there locally who are on the ground. checking things out, seeing how things are going, using the power of partying to meet with others. A lot of partying going on in Singapore right now. But we have Token 2049 in Singapore, which is the largest crypto event in the world. What's interesting about Token 2049 specifically on, and this is something you may find when you come to events that we're going to be at, like we're going to be at Permissionless from October 9th through 11th in Salt Lake City, is that when it comes to things like, wrong one, me, there. A lot of people who come to these conferences don't know a lot about DeFi. That's probably the one thing you may find interesting as part of our community going out to things like this, is that people are there, they just know tokens, they just know NFTs, things like that. They're not very well versed in what DeFi is or how DeFi can really help them. So obviously we have a vested interest in sending people out to these conferences to try and educate, get people talking, make DeFi accessible, normalize the conversation on DeFi. But I know Barachain had an event yesterday that had a line out the door for like a half a mile, and will be interesting to see what news we get from here. There's already been quite a bit of news. I'm going to have a post on both of our communities, with some summaries on things I think that are interesting. But 2 days after this, on Friday, is Solana Breakpoint in the same area, which actually to me I think is going to be an even more important conference, because I do think there's going to be a lot of Solana things introduced here. As we've already seen some things here, like for example, DYdX is going to debut prediction markets, and now they have their own Cosmos blockchain. This is going to be interesting because Drift, which we've talked about previously, has their bet on Drift, which is their prediction market where you can actually do like Polymarket. Polymarket just, I think, only accepts USDC, but Drift actually you can buy shares with any asset that is on their chain, meaning you can actually hedge your bet literally on Solana with Drift, with bet on Drift. DYdX will offer something very similar. Now they have much more TVL at DYdX, so this could be a very interesting move for them, but they're not going to be out until later in the year. So for now, Polymarket, Drift, and some of these others that are coming around are going to be, ruling the roost, having a good time, and really just building a moat, which is probably the biggest important part about being in a DeFi project, is how big of a moat can you build. Wintermute, very large market maker in the space, also building a smart contract prediction market, utilizing Chaos Labs Edge Proof Oracle, which is a new technology that a lot of other protocols are looking to support moving forward. Leave that up to you if you want to go ahead and do the research on that, but they are going to have Trump and Harris tokens specifically just for the US election. It looks like this is only going to be for the US election. It also looks like this won't be open to US residents. So you know the drill if you want to participate in this. But interesting to see two big players in this space looking to get their, prediction markets are huge. It's Polymarket. We talked about this last week. There's a rumor they may be coming out with a token. So people are actually coming on here and spending good money, getting volume, farming criteria with their wallet so that they can actually possibly qualify based on volume and betting. Rather, predicting, we'll call it predicting what happens on various events. So we'll wait and see. But there's a lot of things happening at 2049 right now. Andre Cronje just put out a post this morning about sentiment for 5 projects he's thinking on, releasing on Phantom Sonic, which, man, we've talked about Phantom Sonic in our mastermind for quite some time. That could be something to look at moving forward. We're going to move on to something happier. And when I say happier, I'm talking about the country of Bhutan. Now, if you're wondering, what is Bhutan? Bhutan's a lovely tiny country. It's actually known as the happiest country in the world. One of my favorite YouTube creators, Yes Theory, if you've never heard of them, I fully live by their ethos of seek discomfort. They actually welcomed BitDeer, which is a multinational mining conglomerate. They have Singapore, they have Texas, they have a couple of different places. Then they decided to go up into the Himalayas because Bhutan is a very high altitude country. Obviously very much cooler there, much less to deal with the terms of heat. Obviously, there's only 1 million people, less than 1 million people in Bhutan. They have 3 billion in GDP, and a third of it is now held in Bitcoin. So now I think they're like the 4th largest Bitcoin holding by country. Of course, El Salvador would be first, but yeah, didn't have this on my bingo card for 2024. But I think that's interesting because it is state owned, and it was thanks to Arkham Intelligence for following some wallets in order to get this. They've now, of course, if you follow Arkham Intelligence, they do label their wallets as they find them. So we'll know exactly how they're holding these things. But that's a lot of Bitcoin to have mined. Good for them. Sometimes the little guy can pull ahead on stuff like this, literally, because I have no idea how large the country of Bhutan is, but I don't think it's very large at all. But it's always been on my bucket list to visit Bhutan because it is, of course, the happiest country in the world. I'd love to see what that looks like. And I've seen some videos. It looks breathtaking. But yeah, really interesting that even El Salvador. El Salvador is not a large country, right? So seeing these countries lead the way, I think it's only a matter of time before the country of Texas follows along. That's a joke. Sorry, I'm in a jokey mood. You all know I joke too much. We'll see what happens there. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. If you don't follow Andy, really good threader. And he wants to start a crypto pod called Where Are the Effing Apps? Fun fact, the previous incarnation of this show, I was going to have a segment called The Rug Gallery, where we talked about, apps to not go into because they're clear rugs. But of course, then the market went the way that it did and everyone left DeFi. So kind of lost some content there. But if you want to participate at a website called Joke Race, someone has come through. I believe his name is David Phelps. I want to make sure I quote him correctly from at Divine_economy, has put together a list where people can go and over 7 days vote for the best apps on chain. So if you're ever looking for some quick alpha and you're wondering where are the best apps on chain, and again, these are not any type of shitcoin. We're not talking about Politify, Gamblefy, RWAs, those tokens. We're talking about the apps that have the liquidity and use them, provide the experiences. And that ties into what we're going to talk about and what we learned today. So if you're looking for some really interesting apps, I'm going to put this here in the chat for you as well. Check it out. And if you have an app on here that you want to put up as an app to use, feel free to put it up there. I've actually been thinking about this. Obviously, I don't have time, but if we had an app, would you use it? Like, what would be the point of having one of our, maybe I guess for education, I suppose, right? Having an app on your phone that gives you DeFi. Well, we don't want you using your phone for DeFi. There's that. I don't know. It was a thought. Anyway. It's a lot easier to do now with things like AI. You can actually build a mobile app fairly quickly. You just have to make sure it doesn't exploit, which then you'd have to hire somebody to do to make sure your code's good, because you can't really trust everything that comes from an AI, right? Just got to be careful about that. But leaderboard for voting on apps here at jokerace.io. Okay. We'll move to our what we've learned section. Normally the section is where we talk about alpha. And essentially I'm going to actually have a little bit of a series moving forward because we have a bunch of guests on the slate moving forward. There's actually a lot of people who are in Token 2049. They've been at Korea Blockchain Week, so haven't really had a lot of availability for a lot of people to come on panel because they're all meeting other people around the world, and I totally get that. I am jealous. But one thing that someone had asked, that a couple people ask me all the time is, I remember at Denver, I had somebody ask me, I have a son who's very interested in in programming. How do I get him interested into getting into this space? So I'm going to have a series moving forward with people who work full-time in Web3 to tell you how exactly you can build your career path to work in Web3, to work full-time in this space. It's a really great spot, right? I really personally enjoy it. It's a grind. It's a struggle, but I don't think I could find myself doing anything else with my time today. I know I'm never going back to working a 9 to 5. If I have to do it, I will. I just love what I do here so much. I love building Beacon for all of you. And, I see examples every day that people want to learn how to get into DeFi. That's why we have what we have here. And one thing I did want to point out too, if you haven't had a chance, and again, we've recently updated it on our site here. Check out this Start Here post. We have a brand new updated post here, a video from myself and Andrew, and we tell you exactly on our site, depending on your experience, how to get to all the information that we have. We have our new Intro to DeFi module, and I've actually taken a lot of time to specifically, work on this. This Introduction to DeFi module you can find in our classroom. There's an overview along with our fundamentals of on-chain finance, and it's called 10 different trainings on really how to get you from 0 to 1. And these are all very important things, because if you want to work in this space, you gotta know what you're talking about, right? You gotta know the fundamentals. So that would probably be number one. If you have someone who wants to work specifically in DeFi, they gotta know the fundamentals. I meet a lot of people at a lot of conferences who work for different protocols and stuff like that. And they're very pigeonholed in their one position. And that may be by design. But I do think that if you want to work in this space, know about this space, understand the fundamentals, understand what providing liquidity is, how to bridge money back and forth. You should know how to do that no matter what company you work for in Web3, in DeFi, NFT projects. It's good to have that knowledge. I think it helps heighten your overall brand. It helps your authoritative persona, because you actually can meet other people and provide multiple insights to what's going on in this space. With that said, if you're looking for a place to find positions, one that I've looked at for a long time is web3.career. And there's tons of jobs, and as you can see, most of them pay pretty well, depending on what you're looking at. This is a little bit lower at 70 to 90. But if you're a smart contract developer, like you can code in either Solidity or some of these other positions, not positions, in languages like Rust, WebAssembly, C++, you are in high demand. Solidity developers specifically, low to mid, especially if you're entry level, low to mid, 6 figures, easy, as long as you can figure out how to make it work and how to do it. And there's multiple YouTube videos. The key to all this is, in a world of AI, and myself being a professor and teaching people how to do software development, unfortunately, when it comes to smart contracts, because of how easily they can be exploited, you gotta have a better fundamental knowledge of logic and programming before you can come in and really kind of push a lot of demand in terms of how much you want to be paid. You want to try and get into some projects, work out some smart contracts, learn from some people. I'm going to have Smitty back on soon from Dev and Draw. He teaches people how to do development in smart contracts. When we have quite a few other friends in the industry as well that can help with that. You have to understand how logic works if you're going to be a programmer. And I think that's a fairly common conception, right? Another one is remote3.co. And these are remote jobs. And these are the two that I've actually used these. The others I had to Google because I didn't know of any others, but apparently there's CryptoJobsList. And this is fairly up to date because this is from September 7th. This is Sky, which is what MakerDAO used to be. You're looking at things like a senior full stack engineer. And what does that pay? Does it say? Looks like it doesn't say. But the good thing about when you're working at jobs like this is that they're mostly, in most cases, they're going to be remote, unless you worked for like Sam Bankman-Fried and you lived in a Bahamian penthouse. That would be soon. Anyway, most of these jobs are remote. Many friends that I have that work in the industry, they work remote. Our company, we're fully remote. You have the ability to work at home or live at work, as I like to call it, and you have flexibility. So there's that flexibility. What I will say is that web and UI designers, and when I say web, I mean like front end. So like a full stack engineer, a front end engineer, they also do fairly well because it is hard. And this goes back to what Eric Trump was talking about with World Liberty Finance, is that we got to, in order to get retail here, we have to make experiences that make sense. Like one thing that he mentioned that kind of blew my mind, and I just thought about, I'm like, of course, is that he didn't like the fact that he had to enter an IO domain. He's like, what is .io? What is that? What happened to .com? And I had to think about it. I'm like, I guess that makes a lot of sense. If you're coming from a traditional world and you're not used to .io or .xyz or .finance, things like that, because that seems like a foreign concept for you, yeah, that can be a little overwhelming. Making good experiences is key to keeping not only TVL, but attracting new TVL to your protocol. So I would definitely say that's probably something you need to consider when you're in there. The key also, if you're going to be a web designer or a web front-end engineer or a UI designer, you got to be fast. A lot of these ideas, they come quickly. You got to be able to prototype and iterate if you can, and make things better quickly over time. If you can have a good MVP that can ship, that's key. And you can go fast and you can move between jobs. And as long as you have a portfolio full of things you can build and you can show that you can build, that's the key. I will say that right now there's a little bit of an issue going on because of what happened with that Zach XBT talked about with the North Korean IT workers, that they're all like 5 people that are all cyber hackers. I get it all the time in my Discord and my Telegram and my Twitter. I get people, messaging me all the time asking if I'm hiring. I know good and well enough to know that those are not legitimate emails. And if they are, I apologize. Right now it's just kind of a hard time to trust anybody with access. And I will say that, make sure that the company you work for does have good controls in place, especially if you're a seasoned developer. If you're working for a company and they clearly don't understand what operational security is or good IT cybersecurity, do not work there, and recommend that they find a partner to work with to harden their networks. Seeing some of these things that have happened, like for example, what was the exploit from this week? Oh, goodness. It was 6 million, and it happened because one of the admins had their private key compromised. It was unfortunate, right? You definitely don't want to be in that situation where, people are losing jobs and losing $6 million. Yeah, it's small with regards to other, gigantic exploits, but an exploit's an exploit. It doesn't look good, right? So you just want to make sure that even as you start to progress in your career, even if you're like a community manager or something like that, practice good operational security, 2FA, multi-FA, everything, and question everything when it comes to security. Because in this game, one exploit tanks your reputation forever, especially in a world where most people here are either anonymous or pseudonymous. If you are fully doxxed and you screw up, man, I'm going to hate it for you. So you got to be very careful while you're out there. If you're good at communications, there's always a demand for PR, marketing, and social media. These are a lot of people. Yeah, this will all be in the show notes, Greg. Don't worry. These are things that a lot of people that I meet at conferences are normally of that position. They're specifically there to talk to people because obviously they're working a booth, right? I don't expect developers to be at the booth. I expect marketing and PR and social media people to be at the booth because they're good communicators. So if you like the idea of going to crypto conferences or just traveling, talking, making business, then that's what you should. That's something that's always going to be in demand. I remember when I was at Denver, because I do most of the biz dev for Beacon. I met a lot of people that literally were hired the week before the conference. They don't know a ton about DeFi. They just know that they're there to try and make partnerships, and they know exactly a little bit of what their product contains. And that's really about it. So again, if you're looking to stay in this business long term, have the right education, have the good foundation, be hungry to learn. That's probably my other big thing to really push here. And you can get your feet wet in freelance spots like Fiverr, Upwork, Elance, other agency type things that are like a third party type of place where you can market yourself. That does make it harder for you to get hired, to be quite honest. But if you have like a portfolio that you can, like if you're a programmer, if you got to have a GitHub, you got to be able to have some examples of what you can do. I don't care if you fork, and I'm saying this as with my professor hat on. I don't care if you just fork things and then just try and recreate them. That's fine. That shows me you have critical thinking skills, that you're looking to try and make something your own, or you're trying to understand how things work. These are the things I care about. I'm not looking for someone who's just sitting there looking to, work at home and do nothing and, call on AI to help him solve problems every 6 hours. That's not the type of programmer that most companies want either. Otherwise, if you're looking to market yourself, consider using Twitter, consider using Farcaster, anything that is out there that is DeFi focused. People are often looking for other people. And of course, I'll be very honest, this business is still very much who you know. So when you go to networking events, introduce yourself, say what you do, and start making connections. It's always good to do so. But yeah, again, the last thing, to shoot your shot. That's the only way to do it. But don't bother people in DMs, especially if you just send your CV or your resume to people randomly saying, hey, are you looking for anybody? That's just not the way to go. Build rapport. People hire. Trust is a big thing in this space. I got to say that from the jump. Trust is such an important thing in this space, especially in a world where people are anonymous or pseudonymous. You got to be able to build trust. And those are my thoughts. And that's what I wanted to start off with. So guests that we're having on panel over the next 5-6 weeks, we'll be talking specifically about this topic moving forward on how to get hired in Web3, because there are a lot of people that are, they get in, they learn from us, they get hooked, and now they want to do this full time. And I get that. I would say if that's something you want to do, build something, and we used to call it the wage collector job. Build that first. Get some disposable income going that way before you step in and do this full time. Because things change in an instant, and I don't want you to be completely dependent on your income from this spot, because it can be a very tough slog. Obviously, we're very early. This is all very experimental, but you can build a career here in Web3 if this is something you want to do. And we have plenty of people on our network that are always looking for jobs. So if you're hiring, let me know. I have a lot of people who've been asking me questions on how they can work in here full time. And if they're in our community, they know their stuff. Or at least they have access to know their stuff. So in any case, yeah, those are 4 sites. I think the last one is cryptocurrencyjobs.co. And again, this is more of the monster.com old UI, so I don't know a whole lot of what's going on. Oh, but they do have some interesting jobs here. Pardon me. Senior engineer at Athena, or a DevOps engineer. Oh, that's a nice job. That's an interesting job. BD manager at Zokyo. Oh, yeah, you're definitely going to conferences then if you're going to be doing that. Okay, cool. Yeah, a lot of interest. Oh, DeFi at RE7. Oh, that's a nice job. That's good. That's good. One thing I did want to end on, just a cute little thing that Susan in our group, she'll be on panel sometime soon as well. She found this interesting talk from a tweet that was just someone talking about how plants can be grown with specific attributes in their DNA. and they're calling it non-fungible plants. And I heard like things like art, music can all be converted into some patterns. Not this one, this one. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but I still think it's interesting. But you store NFTs in the DNA of plants, and NFTs can be anything, right? NFTs can be photos, it can be art, it can be utility stuff. It could be music, video. I mean, moving forward, it could also be, with utility, we're talking about mortgage deeds, driver's licenses, titles, escrow. Eventually, when you own your own data, personal information, PII data, medical, insurance, I think it's all going to be tokenized on chain, in something like NFTs. Of course, there'll be private blockchains, for the privacy purposes. But to have a plant that, cool. I'm still trying to figure this part out because, I don't know. I think it's fascinating. I'm just the memes alone, I think are good, right? The pre-seed round. That's great. But yeah, the idea that you could actually store DNA within seeds, I think that's really interesting for someone to have thought that far out of the box. And honestly, that's how unicorns in this space are born, right? From great minds like Andre Cronje, Daniel Sestigali. Oh goodness, the gentleman from Nillion. Lots of people that are out there. Andrew Basanto, and lots of other people that are out there that have great minds. They think of non-contrarian problems to try and find solutions for. Things you didn't realize were things that needed to be solved. I'll be honest. This is really just more of a cool thing. I don't know exactly what you would do with these plants. Maybe you're just germinating and you can keep them around forever, I guess. I don't know enough about plants and seeds to know the difference, but it's still pretty interesting to see more about that. So, and there you go. That's our show for today, ladies and gentlemen. Again, please, if you haven't had a chance to join us, again, our free group, school.com/beacon, find out about more of our other opportunities there as well. We do have a boot camp coming up on Saturday. If you're interested in our boot camp, I'm going to be giving away a couple of buddy passes. It'll be Saturday, the 21st, 1 p.m. Eastern. It'll be a 5.5 hour boot camp where you'll learn everything about the fundamentals of DeFi. Plus, we'll be focusing on perp dexes and portfolio construction. So something that's been highly requested to go along with our previous ones, which have been on research, airdrops, and concentrated liquidity. So this is your shot to spend some time with me, and I'll teach you everything I know on certain focused topics once a month, every Saturday, as part of our Beacon Accelerator, Beacon Mastermind offering. So if you're interested, again, follow us on Twitter, go follow on Rumble. I'll choose some random people. If you're interested, just let me know that you'll be there. And yeah, definitely want to spread the word, make DeFi accessible, and continue to follow us here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about the hot things going on in the space. I'll give you a little bit of alpha, and we'll laugh. We'll have a good time. Till then, take care. 07, beacons up, banks down. See you later, guys. Let's go 50 bips.